Hey, it's Rachel Cooke, your modern mentor. I'm the founder of Lead Above Noise, where we help leaders activate performance and engagement without burning out. Whether it's a boot camp, a keynote, or a pulse check, we help teams achieve meaningful change. If that's what your organization needs, let's talk. So I've been reflecting on something that comes up in almost every conversation I have with leaders these days. It's this question of, what do I do when the challenge my team is facing feels too big for me to solve? And I get it. Sometimes, often really, the problems, whether it's lack of resources, frustrating processes, or tensions with other teams, they can just feel out of our hands. But here's what I tell them. You don't need to fix the whole system to make a difference. In fact, sometimes the most impactful thing you can do is make things just a little bit easier. Small intentional changes can create the kind of relief that boosts morale, that strengthens relationships, and that moves your team closer to thriving, even if the bigger challenge still exists. This mindset shift sits at the foundation of the Activation Bootcamps I run. These bootcamps are designed for cohorts of leaders within organizations that are looking to gain the skills, the tools, the practice, and the confidence to find and resolve the obstacles holding their teams back from their best performance. And just convincing leaders that a low-stakes first step can have a meaningful impact feels like a big win sometimes. It's the place where momentum begins. Instead of spinning on how to solve the unsolvable, we focus on first steps. I recently wrapped an Activation Bootcamp where I was pretty delighted by the actions I saw taken, and I'd love to share some of them with you today, because maybe there's a mindset shift you need to make, and this can help you make it. So here are 5 big challenges that were raised to these leaders and the 5 steps that they took not to solve, but to ease those realities. Challenge 1, not enough learning and development opportunities. This is a big one, and for good reason. People want to grow, but the reality, transforming an organization's approach to learning and development often requires a lot of investment of time, money, and resources. So what did one leader do? She implemented a monthly Lunch and Learn series, simple, low cost, and easy to manage. She tapped into internal experts to share knowledge on key topics. She curated some LinkedIn learning courses, and she screened some TED Talks. The team created their own little homegrown learning circle. It wasn't a massive overhaul, but it was a first step, and it gave people a space to learn and share ideas and connect. Challenge number 2, frustration with the mandatory return to office policy. This team hated the company's policies, compelling them to commute in more days than they wanted. The leader couldn't change the policy, but he could make the experience more meaningful. He noticed that the frustration was tied to how unproductive those in-office days felt. People were commuting in only to sit on Zoom meetings all day. So he created a shared document where team members could post the days they planned to be in the office and some of their key topic areas of interest. The team began to use this to coordinate in-person lunches and coffees and networking meetups. It didn't change the RTO mandate, but it made the time feel more purposeful and connective. Small steps, a little bit of ease. Challenge 3, being consulted too late in a process. This team often found themselves blindsided by decisions made without their input. They'd get handed a directive to implement, only to realize they could have contributed valuable insights earlier in the process, and now they had to work 3 times as hard to make it work within these constraints. The leader's fix? A 15-minute simple weekly check-in with leaders from the other teams involved in the same projects. This quick sync allowed him to surface any potential changes early and to ensure his team's voice was heard before decisions were finalized. It wasn't a complete overhaul of the decision-making process, but it created more opportunities for this team to influence the shape of the project, and it helped to start to reduce their frustration. Challenge number 4, inconsistency in how requests are received. This team struggled with messy, unclear, or incomplete requests coming from other teams. They had to spend way too much time trying to make sense of the asks before they could even start the work. To ease this pain point, the leaders worked with the team to create a simple intake template. This template required a basic level of research and clarity that another team had to do before putting in a request. This small step cut down on the back and forth communication, and it saved time and ensured that the team could focus on doing the work rather than deciphering the request. And challenge 5, frustration with lazy other teams. This leader's team felt like they were working harder than everyone else. The finger pointing was creating tension and eroding trust. The leader felt it too, but also suspected the frustration might be coming from some incomplete information. So he implemented a monthly cross-team meeting. Each month, his team and another team would come together to discuss a current challenge they were facing. These conversations increased transparency and built empathy and highlighted the hard work that all teams were doing. It turns out no one team was particularly lazy. It's just that each team didn't fully understand the other team's roles and priorities. And these meetings not only improved collaboration, but also strengthened relationships across teams. So there you have it. 5 challenges, 5 eases, not fixes, but meaningful steps within these leaders' control to create relief, improve workflows, and boost morale. If your team is facing challenges that feel too big to solve, I encourage you to think small. What is one step you can take to make things just a little bit easier? You'll be amazed at how small changes can create big impact. And if you'd like support in uncovering your team's challenges and finding ways to ease them, reach out to me at rachel@leadabovenoise.com. Whether it's a bootcamp, a keynote, or a pulse check, will help you create that meaningful change. Join me next week for another great episode. Until then, visit my website at leadabovenoise.com. You can follow Modern Mentor on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks so much for listening and have a successful week. Modern Mentor is a quick and dirty tips podcast. It's audio engineered by Dan Fauerband. Our director of podcasts is Brandon Getchis. Our podcast and advertising operations specialist is Morgan Christensen. Our digital operations specialist is Holly Hutchings. Our marketing and publicity associate is Davina Tomlin. Our marketing contractor is Nathaniel Hoops.